We are now in a new era of wars, and unless we re-establish order fast, then we are doomed.
Yuval Noah Harari,
one of the brightest minds on planet Earth.
Historian, a best-selling author
of some of the most influential non-fiction books in the world today.
I think we are very near the end of our species because people often spend so much effort trying to gain something without understanding the consequences.
A decade ago, Yuval Noah Harari boldly proclaimed that we were living in the most peaceful era ever, thanks to global liberalism. Fast forward to today, and conflicts are on the rise. So what exactly happened? Imagine a map dotted with Ukraine, Sudan, Israel. It's like a whirlwind of turmoil swirling across continents. And the toll? It's staggering, with lives lost and families torn apart. It's enough to make your heart ache, isn't it? But here's the thing. Amidst this chaos, there's a shared desire for peace, a common thread that binds us all. So why, despite this longing, do we find ourselves entrenched in conflict? There enters the stage, the global liberal order. Take post-World War II, where the United States stepped up as the architect of a grand design for global stability. They assemble a coalition of nations, like a team of superheroes, with the US at the helm, wielding power and influence to maintain peace. Together they stand as a bulwark against the tide of war, a beacon of hope in a tumultuous world. But hold on, because here's where the plot thickens. Despite its noble intentions, this global liberal order begins to show cracks. Like a fragile house of cards, it teeters under the weight of mounting challenges. Suddenly, the harmony it once promised starts to unravel, leaving chaos and uncertainty in its wake. So what went wrong? Well, that's where the experts step in, armed with theories and debates. Some point to the rise of populism, a divisive force that pits people against each other, eroding trust and cooperation. Others highlight the growing polarity in global politics, where nations drift further apart, each pursuing its own agenda at the expense of unity. In a multipolar system, it's like a high-stakes balancing act, with 3 or more powerful nations trying to call the shots. But here's the kicker. Alliances can throw a spanner in the works, plunging the whole system into chaos. Just look back in history. The 30 Years' War, the Napoleonic War, World War I and II, all consequences of this delicate balance tipping over. Now shift gears to a bipolar system, where 2 superpowers stand toe-to-toe, like heavyweight champions in a ring. Sounds stable, right? Well, not quite. Even with just 2 players, it's a recipe for trouble, as seen during the Cold War era, with proxy wars sprouting up like daisies in Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan. Fast forward to the post-Cold War era, and here comes the US, strutting onto the global stage as the sole superpower in a unipolar system. But hold on to your hats, because here's where the plot thickens. Despite its reign as the top dog, the global liberal order starts showing cracks. The invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan? They exposed the limits of even US military muscle. Meanwhile, back home, Western democracies are grappling with the rise of nationalism fueled by fears of immigration and job losses. And let's not forget the elephant in the room, the global economy. While China rises, the US and Europe face a harsh reality of job losses and income inequality. It's a perfect storm brewing, guys, and its name? Populism. We can see it as a leader, rallying the masses with promises of protection from outsiders while chipping away at civil liberties, justice, and media freedom. For nearly 14 years, we've been under the thumb of Benjamin Netanyahu, a populist strongman who's made a career out of tearing our nation apart. When you hand the reins to these divisive leaders, you're playing with fire. They thrive on sowing discord and dismantling the very foundations of society. But here's the kicker. When you need the state the most, it might not be there to catch you. Take a look at the United States under the populist lens. Suddenly, global agreements like the Paris Climate Accord and the Trans-Pacific Partnership are tossed aside like yesterday's news. And don't even get started on the UN Human Rights Council. It's like the populists have a vendetta against anything that smacks of international cooperation. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. How does this all tie back to the wars raging around us? Well, here's the thing. The US might still be top dog in terms of economic, technological, and military might, but it's no longer the only show in town. We are living in a brave new world, one where the EU flexes its muscles, China spreads its wings, and India's on the rise. Throw in climate change and migration, and you've got a recipe for a multipolar shutdown. And you know what? That might not be such a bad thing. It's high time the old guard made room for new voices at the table. Countries like India and Brazil deserve a seat at the big kids' table when it comes to shaping global affairs. So if you've got a different vision, if you're not sold on the whole liberal order spiel, that's okay. But here's the catch. Your alternative better be more than just a one-country wonder. It's got to be something that speaks to the whole human family, something that transcends borders and cultures. It's a tall order, sure, but hey, nothing worth fighting for ever came easy, right? Some argue that the rise of Trump-style populism has led the US to focus more on domestic issues, while conflicts like Ukraine have diverted attention away from preventing other crises. Additionally, the bold actions of certain states and militant groups in regions like the Middle East suggest a growing disregard for US military power. It's as if we're regressing into a global jungle, with the once sturdy global liberal order now teetering on the brink of collapse. Chaos and violence reign as the international system fragments, with free trade deals crumbling and autocratic leaders like Turkey's Prime Minister Erdogan undermining unity in organizations like NATO and the UN. Former allies find themselves at odds, voting against each other in the UN General Assembly. It's a stark reminder that the world order we once knew is rapidly unraveling before our eyes. In today's turbulent landscape, the need for a viable alternative to the liberal order becomes increasingly apparent. We can't simply tear down existing institutions without offering something to replace them. Otherwise, we risk plunging the world into even greater chaos and uncertainty. The rise of populist movements, epitomized by leaders like Donald Trump, has shifted the focus of powerful nations like the US inward, away from the responsibilities of global leadership. As a result, conflicts like the ongoing war in Ukraine go unchecked, allowing other crises to fester and escalate. Furthermore, the brazen actions of rogue states and militant groups, such as those in the volatile Middle East, demonstrate a growing defiance of traditional power structures. It's a troubling trend that threatens to undermine the stability of the entire international system. Indeed, the cracks in the global liberal order are becoming increasingly visible. From failed free trade agreements to the erosion of unity within organizations like NATO, the signs of disarray are everywhere. Autocratic leaders like Turkey's Erdogan are actively working to undermine international cooperation, while former allies find themselves at odds in crucial forums like the UN General Assembly. It's a far cry from the days of unified action and collective security that characterized the post-World War II era. Instead, we find ourselves grappling with a world order in flux, where old alliances are crumbling and new threats emerge with alarming frequency. The current landscape of globalization, free trade, and democratization is shifting, and it's not for the better. Worldwide indexes tracking these trends show stagnation or even decline, painting a grim picture of the state of affairs. The once solid global liberal order appears to be losing its grip, becoming less global and orderly with each passing day. But here's the thing, our dominance on this planet isn't because we're individually smarter or better than other creatures. It's because we excel at cooperation, surpassing even chimpanzees and pesky viruses in our ability to work together towards common goals. It's the secret sauce of our success, the glue that holds us together as a species. But here's the catch. If we forget this fundamental truth, if we succumb to internal and international conflicts, we're staring down the barrel of some serious threats. It's not just about regional wars in the Middle East anymore. We're talking about the very real possibility of a third world war, the looming specter of climate change and ecological collapse, and the rapid ascent of disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence. These are challenges that transcend borders and ideologies, requiring nothing short of global cooperation to tackle head-on. Because here's the harsh reality. If we can't band together as a global community, if we can't set aside our differences and work towards common solutions, then the odds of humanity surviving the trials and tribulations of the 21st century are slim to none. So let's heed this wake-up call and rise to the occasion, because the fate of our species hangs in the balance. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do drop your views in the comments section below, and we'll meet again in the next episode.